basically why I'm on board 100%. Quick background on Don. At the age of 13 years old, when kids his age were basically playing video games and so forth, what took place was that, he put his creative and ingenious mind together. He developed his first company at the age of 13. At the age of 15, he sold it for $1.6 million and to a firm, and now that company's worth millions. At the age of 17, again, he created his second company and sold that for $175,000, which is now worth $191 million. His background also is in equities trading. His background's in finance. Definitely an incredible individual, ethical, visionary, committed, and highly successful. And again, he's going to share with you exactly what this company is all about and what it can do for you and others like it has done for me. So, also at this point in time, I would like to preface it, if you have a cell phone, could you please put it on mute? And any questions that you may have, if you can reserve them at the end. There'll be a Q&A session, and we'll be more than glad to answer many of your questions. I'm sure you're going to have quite a bit of them. But get ready for some exciting news. This company is on fire. Okay, enjoy.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So glad that you guys can join us today. I know we're getting started a little bit late. Some of you guys came here a little early. I apologize for that. But we just wanted to get everybody here before we get started so nobody misses out on this amazing opportunity. But even before, I get started on the presentation, I just wanted to thank Cliff for organizing this event and getting everybody together, along with Edward, who has been working with Cliff to, gather people to this event and just to introduce people to this new amazing opportunity that could revolutionize the way we view our finances, view money. Because before I get started, I just wanted to ask you guys to keep an open mind, because this kind of concept is still a new concept, is a new technology. We're in the same phase that the internet was back in the 90s and the early 2000s, where a lot of people don't understand it because it's still a little bit complex. But after seeing it a few times, everything's just going to start clicking and it's just going to start to make sense. But even before I dive into, what the technology is, I just wanted to spend a few minutes to talk about you guys, about where you see yourself 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, right? What are you going to be doing career-wise? And according to Robert Kiyosaki, does anyone here know who Robert Kiyosaki is? Are you guys familiar with him?
Yes.
Quite a few of you guys, right? He's the author of the best-selling book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And according to Robert Kiyosaki, he says it doesn't really matter what type of career decisions that you make. The majority of us is going to end up into one of these 4 quadrants right here. And unfortunately, most of us is going to end up in this quadrant up here, the employee quadrant. And what is an employee? An employee is someone who has a job, has a boss, someone who's basically selling their time for money. You have a boss that tells you, okay, you have to come to work at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. You can't leave until 5, 6, or maybe even 8, 9 o'clock at nighttime. And the majority of us is going to end up in this quadrant right here. And once, some of us who goes on to become small business owners, and they leave this quadrant, they kind of migrate down here to become a self-employed person, which is the owners of small businesses like your nail salons, your hair salons, auto repair shops, restaurants, coffee shops, among other things, right? But the thing is, most people who are self-employed, they actually work more hours and they work harder than their employees do, because there's just a lot more things to do, right? You have to make sure you have enough stock for the next day. You have to make sure everything's prepped for all the sales the next day. Keep your accounting together, right? They're to pay your employees on time, doing the payroll. So there's just a lot of things that you have to do. So are you really any different than just an employee? Are you really your own boss, or is your business your boss?
Your business is your boss.
Yeah, usually your business is your boss, right? Your business actually dictates your schedule. You can't just pick up and say, oh, today I feel like taking my family to Disney World for a week, because who's going to run your business when you're gone, right? And that's the problem, right? In life, most of us don't control our own schedule. But wouldn't it be better if you're able to just say, oh yeah, today I want to spend some time with my family, my friends, go down to the beach, and not really have to worry about how you pay your bills at the end of the month? Because these people over here, if you don't work, you're not really getting paid. And unfortunately, about 95% of the population falls into one of these two categories, and they only make about 5% of the money. And then you have this side of the quadrant right here. You have your employers, who are the big business owners, the people who knows how to leverage other people's time and efforts in order to make money for them. They don't even have to show up in the office. They have everyone, like managers and other people working for them and just making sure everything runs correctly, right? And then you have your investors down here who just has their money working for them. So this side of the quadrant, they're getting paid even without working. Wouldn't you like that lifestyle? Isn't that a lot better than having to show up to work every day? Of course, right? And the people on this side of the quadrant, they only make up about 5% of the population, but yet they make 95% of the money. So would you like to be on the left side of the quadrant or the right side of the quadrant?
The right side.
The right, obviously, right? But what's the difference between these people over here and these people over here? Guesses, anyone? Are these people smarter or better than these people?
They took risks.
Yeah, exactly. These people over here, they're not any smarter or any better than the people over here. It's just the people over here, they have a lot of fears. They fear instability. They fear change. They fear, not being able to pay the bills at the end of the month. They fear failure. And when they fear failure so much, they actually fail at the most important thing in life, being able to recognize a calculated risk. Being able to, recognize an opportunity that can take them from this side of the quadrant to this side of the quadrant. That's why I ask you guys to, keep an open mind, because VBIT is the most exciting company that I've ever worked on, and it has the most potential. It has the potential to go on to become a multi-billion-dollar business. But more importantly, it provides people with an opportunity to not only become an investor where you can allow your money to work for you, it also allows you to leverage other people's time and efforts and build an organization for yourself. So that, while you're spending time on vacation or on the beach with your family or friends, you're still getting paid. And that's the goal, right? And the life-changing technology that I wanted to talk to you guys about is Bitcoin. How many of you heard of Bitcoin or know what it is? All right. So majority of you have heard of Bitcoin, but do you know exactly how it works?
Not really.
Not really? So, before I get into how Bitcoin works, I just have to touch up on how the current banking system works, right? To show you how Bitcoin is better. So in the current banking system, let's say you have family or friends in China and Philippines and Europe, or if you're trying to buy something from a vendor that's located outside the country, right? Even in Canada, what do? Most likely you're going to either log into your online banking account or go out to your bank and tell your bank, oh yeah, I want to wire this company or this person money, and he lives in Europe or Canada. And after your bank receives that request, that request goes to the U.S. Central Bank and hits a few correspondent banks before, hitting your targeted person. And because it's going through so many layers of banking, what do you think happens each time it hits another bank? Another fee, exactly. So the current system, they charge a lot of fees, and because it's going through a lot of different layers of banking, it actually takes a longer time to complete the transaction too. Because if you think about it, once Bank A receives it, and it goes to Bank B has to process it and then goes on to the next one. So the current financial system was built over 100 years ago, basically, and there has been no change, no improvement to the system. So it's just been even though all the other industries have been progressing, has been facing, technological advancement, the financial system has basically stayed the same over the past 100 or so years. And because of that, right now, depending on how much you're sending, you could be spending anywhere between, $25 to thousands of dollars just to try to send money to another country. And, because transaction fees are basically a percentage of how much you're sending. So if you're sending $10 million, $20 million, I'm talking about, the big businesses, right? They're spending thousands of dollars on each transaction that they're sending. But yet, here comes Bitcoin, which is a peer-to-peer currency. It's just a new form, of currency, a new asset, basically. And the way it works is it's a program that exists on the internet. So nobody owns it, no government controls it, no bank owns it, or anything like that. It's a peer-to-peer decentralized system, which means everybody is just like the internet. Everybody's able to use it, but nobody really owns it or manipulates it. And the reason why that's so important is because right now, like let's say if I wanted to send money to someone in my home country of Vietnam or buy something from a vendor in Europe, I just go on any internet-enabled device like my smartphone, which almost everybody in the world has a smartphone nowadays, right? So basically everybody can utilize the system too. I just put in, okay, I want to send Clifford $100. And after I initiate that transaction, it goes to the Bitcoin network, which again, is just like the internet. Nobody owns it, nobody controls it or anything. Bitcoin network just verifies that I have enough money in my Bitcoin wallet, and then boom, immediately Clifford receives it. So there's it basically takes out all the layers of different banking systems. So there's just a small flat transaction fee. Doesn't matter if you're sending, like $1,000, $1 million, or $10 million. It's just a flat fee of a few cents per transaction, as opposed to, $10,000 or $1,000 in transaction fees. And because it's not going through so many layers of banks, instead of taking, between 1 and 5 days, it only takes a few minutes, anywhere between 7 minutes to 45 minutes to confirm, just to make sure that you verify that you have all the funds, and then the person receives it immediately. And because it's cheaper and faster than the current financial system, more and more people and more merchants are starting to adopt it as a form of payment. You can go onto Overstock.com and buy your furniture or whatever it is that you need. Book your airplane ticket on Expedia, or buy a computer from Dell. And every single day, more and more merchants are starting to accept it too. And because it's cheaper and faster, people are starting to use it to, sell and buy their homes, their businesses. Even, like right now, governments are starting to pick up on it as well. The Japanese government just announced that they're accepting it as a national currency, which means you can pay taxes, renew your driver's license, go to the supermarket in Japan and pay through Bitcoin. Or, like closer to home, right now in Seminole County in Florida, just legalized Bitcoin as a form of payment to pay, like your taxes, renew your licenses, and you have states like Tennessee, Wisconsin, North Dakota, who has already bills in, the state legislature that if passed, they're going to go on to, accept it for people to use it to pay taxes and other government services too. And another reason why Bitcoin is better than what we currently have is if you take a look at this map, right? What this map shows is anything in a shade of red or pink, it's basically a politically unstable country, or the government is corrupt, right? And as you can see in this map, most of the world is that way. Does anyone know what's happening in the Middle East right now? A lot of wars, right? And the reason why that's important is, let's say, like you live in Iraq or Iran or one of those war-torn countries, which there are a lot of them around the world at any given time, right? Let's say you have $20 million in that country's currency. What would happen to your $20 million if tomorrow you wake up, another regime takes over your country?
It's gone.
Exactly, it's gone. Your $20 million now is worth $0, because that form of currency is only worth anything if, like the government is still in power, right? Because it belongs to that regime. But let's say, yeah, you think, you obviously know that if someone takes over your country, your money's gonna be gone. So you go out, you take that $20 million and you buy gold with it. You're gonna get a lot of gold, right? And the problem with gold too, even though it's a good store of value, and let's say if you buy a bar of gold here in the US, you go to China, you sell a bar of gold, it's still worth the same value, right? So it's a good store of value, but the thing is, you took your $20 million, bought a bunch of gold, now the soldiers are coming in, how do you get that gold? How do you transport it with you? You can't just throw it into your book bag and run away, right? It's really heavy. And the thing is, gold, it's an outdated product too. It's a product, it's an asset that has been used for thousands of years already. And it has good industrial uses, and people are using it as a store of value, but the thing is, if you're using it as a store of value, if you have a lot of it, you're incurring fees every single month as well to store it in bank vaults, or because obviously you're not going to store, $500,000 worth of gold in your basement or under your couch, right? So you have to, rent all this bank storage or like a vault to put it in there, and it costs money as well. But now here comes Bitcoin, because it doesn't belong to any one country. If you buy a Bitcoin here in the US, you go to, Hong Kong, you go to Philippines, you sell that one Bitcoin, you still get the same amount of money that you paid for it in the US pretty much, because it's used worldwide right now. And more people are starting to adopt it as, like a store of value, as an asset, as a currency. So it's starting to go mainstream. So it's just a lot better of an option. So if you're living in, like Iraq, Iran, instead of buying $20 million worth of gold, you bought $20 million of Bitcoin, which, is just a computer, it's just like the internet. It's not a physical product that you hold, but it's always there for you. So you can just put it onto like a USB key, put it in your pocket, walk away, or just keep it on, a hot wallet on the internet. And if you really think about it, what is money today, right? Maybe 20, 30 years ago, people were still using a lot of cash. Cash is king, right? But today, what do people use? Credit cards, debit cards. So do you really ever see the cash anymore? Like you do, 30, 40, 50 years ago? So money nowadays is still just another line of numbers. When you, call up the bank, or when you log onto your bank account, right? It's just a line of numbers to show you how much you have. But you never really feel, you never really take out the cash anymore. So society is just transitioning to, like a virtual society, because it costs less, and it just has a lot more uses. And because it has so many uses and so many a store of value to it, I'm pretty sure you guys can't really see this that well because the text is a little small. But people just started keeping track of the value of Bitcoin roughly in July of 2010. So about 8 years ago, right? And 8 years ago, it was only worth 5 cents per Bitcoin. And pretty much every single year, it's been going up in value. You see 1,900%, 400, 2,200%. And of course, nothing can go up in a straight line. Right. So it took a hit in 2015, but take notice immediately, afterwards, it came back, and it came back even higher than what it was before. From 5 cents, it went all, as of today, when I just checked a little bit before the meeting, it was a little over $5,500, basically. And just to put it in, yes, for one Bitcoin. So just to put it in perspective for you guys, right? Let's say, for example, you had $100 back in 2010 and you bought Bitcoin with it in 2010. You have so that gives you 2,000 Bitcoins. Can anyone take a guess how much your $100 would be worth at this $55.75 price? A guess, guys?
1 million.
1 million?
20.
20?
Yeah.
All right. So somewhere in that range. One's a little too low, one's a little too high. But if you guys meet each other right in the middle, you would be on point. Yeah. So your $100 would be worth a little bit over $11 million. Can anyone use an extra $11 million? Exactly right. Just $100 would have given you over $11 million today. And what some of you might be thinking is, oh, if it went up by that much already, maybe I already missed the boat on this one. You know, like how can it go up even more than that, right? But to let you know, statistically, right now, only about 5 to 7% of the whole world population actually even knows about Bitcoin and knows that it exists. So there's still a lot of growth potential. There's still over 90% of the people in the world that doesn't know about Bitcoin yet. And up until today, all this price increase is just based on people, retail investors, people like you and me, putting money into Bitcoin. So up until this year, if you do a quick Google search, you're going to see a lot of articles like this, like Goldman Sachs is getting into Bitcoin. Fidelity, which is the second largest asset manager in the world, just announced about a month ago that they're opening up a Bitcoin trading desk as well. And they manage almost $5 trillion worth of assets. So just think about it, guys. If people like you and me, which is like we have the small money, right? We're the small potatoes in the industry, can take Bitcoin from 5 cents to over $5,000. What do you think companies with trillions of dollars can do to Bitcoin's price? Because Bitcoin, there is only going to be 21 million Bitcoins ever produced, right? So there's a limited supply, but as more people come into the market, the law of supply and demand, right? Demand grows, but supply still stays the same. The price of Bitcoin just has to go up, right? And to put it in perspective for you, this is Tim Draper. He's a multi-billionaire investor. That's all he does. He's a venture capitalist. He has multiple good investments. He's an early investor in Tesla, Skype, and a lot of other different good ventures, right? So he just has an eye for these things. So he's predicting that Bitcoin's going to hit $250,000 within the next 4 years because there's that limited supply, and because there's such a little amount of people in the world that actually knows about Bitcoin right now. So as more people learn about it and more people understand, like the benefits and the uses of it, the price just has to go up. But what we're suggesting here is not for you to actually buy the Bitcoin, because as with any new technology, prices can be volatile. One day, it might be up $500, $1,000. Next day, it might be down $1,000, $2,000. So, and what happens when, and this is the reason why most people that trade, like the stock market or trade any type of asset, over 98% of traders actually lose money. And the reason why is because they don't know how to control, like their feelings and their anxiety, right? Let's say if you had $100,000, you put it into Bitcoin today, and it's at $5,500. Tomorrow you wake up, you see Bitcoin's at $4,000. What do you immediately do?
Panic.
You panic and you sell, right? And that's the problem, because we naturally, people just see that, oh, okay, if I just lost 20% of my money, I just lost $20,000 off of that $100,000 I put in. Let me, get rid of this before it goes down to zero and I lose everything, right? They panic, they sell just to realize, the next week, Bitcoin price just went up to $7,000. And then they're kicking themselves. They're like, I just lost $20,000, instead I should have made $20,000, right? And that's the problem when you buy, when you directly buy into a new asset, because the price can be volatile, and you just don't know, which direction the prices is going from a day-to-day basis. So over the long run, Bitcoin has a lot of potential, and we do strongly believe, along with all the other investment bank analysts, they think over the long run Bitcoin is going to go up astronomically, but day by day there could be that extreme fluctuation, which causes people to panic and sell. So what we've actually found a way that can manage this risk a lot better, and enable people to take advantage of the potential growth of Bitcoin without facing that day-to-day volatility and without risking them, making the wrong decisions in the short term. And this process is called Bitcoin mining. I'll show you a quick video about what Bitcoin mining is. Pay attention, all right, guys? I'm going to pass out the test afterwards.
What is Bitcoin mining?
Turn up the volume.
Bitcoin operates as a peer-to-peer network. This means that everyone who uses Bitcoin is a tiny fraction of the bank of Bitcoin. But where did Bitcoins come from? With paper money, a government decides when to print and distribute money. Bitcoin doesn't have a central government. With Bitcoin, miners use special software to solve math problems and are issued a certain number of Bitcoins in exchange. This provides a smart way to issue the currency and also creates an incentive for more people to mine. And since miners are required to approve Bitcoin transactions, more miners means a more secure network. The Bitcoin network automatically changes the difficulty of the math problems, depending on how fast they're being solved. In the early days, Bitcoin miners solved these math problems with the processors in their computers. Soon, miners discovered that graphics cards used for gaming were much better suited to this kind of math. Graphics cards are faster, they use more electricity, and generate a lot of heat. The first commercial Bitcoin mining products included chips that were reprogrammed for mining Bitcoin. These chips were faster, but still power hungry. ASIC, or Application-Specific Integrated Circuit chips, are designed specifically for Bitcoin mining. ASIC technology has made Bitcoin mining even faster while using less power. As the popularity of Bitcoin increases, more miners join the network, making it more difficult for individuals to solve the math problems. To overcome this, miners have developed a way to work together in pools. Pools of miners find solutions faster than their individual members, and each miner is rewarded proportionate to the amount of work he or she provides. Mining is an important and integral part of Bitcoin that ensures fairness while keeping the Bitcoin network stable, safe, and secure.
All right, you guys got that? You sure? I'm gonna have Cliff pass out the paper and pencils, all right?
You got erasers.
But yeah, just to put it in simple terms for you guys, right? What Bitcoin mining is exactly is you're just using a computer to help the Bitcoin network process, like and verify all the transactions. Basically, the computer is doing the accounting work for the Bitcoin network. That's all it is. So you're actually not going out there. We're not giving you, like a shovel and an axe, telling you to go in a cave and try to dig out the Bitcoin or anything. It's just the computer is actually doing all the work for you, and in return for the computer, processing all